Happy Saturday, Business Writing 501. My name is Riley.
I'm Brittany.
I am Lena.
Today we're going to be doing our video presentation on our analytical business report. The topic of our report is dangerous toy import products that have been imported to the United States from China. Hence the title, Buyer Beware. For the introduction, the United States is heavily dependent on China in this industry for toy imports. There have been actual instances of harm that have occurred from these imported products. And finally, ultimately, it's more up to the consumer to assume individual responsibility in order to protect themselves from these dangerous and potentially dangerous products. Now, I'm going to give you some evidence of instances where these products have caused actual harm. There were cases where products were found to have contained lead, and too much exposure to lead can result in lowered levels of IQ. Next, there were floating eyeball toys that were found to have been filled with kerosene. For those of you who don't know what kerosene is, it's a fuel that was used to fuel lamps. So you can imagine the consequences if a child were to bite through a floating eyeball and ingest the kerosene, or if the kerosene were to come into contact with their eyes or their skin. Just bad news all around. Lastly, the Thomas & Friends toy train set, which I'm sure is a fairly popular toy, was found to have been coated with poisonous paint. So if the kid licked it, it could be a trip to the hospital, and that's not good. We want to keep our kids both smart and not have them be exposed to lead, which can lower their IQ, and safe from the kerosene-filled products and the poisonous products. In light of this, you may ask, why do we continue to import toy products from China? I'll give you two compelling reasons. One, the sheer volume of imports from China. We as the United States import a huge portion of our toy import products from this country. So volume. Next, the products that are imported from China are imported at a much less expensive cost than they would be if they were imported from other sources. So, volume of the products imported and the fact they're less expensive. I would also like to highlight very quickly that an article that we came across suggested that toys could be produced onshore in the United States at a fairly inexpensive cost in the future if certain precautions were taken. But that's not the scope, it's just an interesting alternative opinion that we wanted to address. Lastly, we really need to consider the fact that there is a symbiotic trade relationship between the United States and China. And it's a delicate one at that. The point is, we cannot simply pull out from our trade relationship with China because there's dangerous products that have been found as a result of these imports. So, I'm going to hand the conversation over to Brittany, who's going to discuss whether or not we're being biased against China and against their toy import products. Brittany?
Thank you. So the question we need to ask, is there an unjust bias against China? 85% of the toy industry does come from China. On the graph on the next slide shows the top 5 countries for imports, which are China, Japan, Mexico, Denmark, and Canada. Although the graph shows that they have a small portion compared to China, they still have a large amount of products importing into the country. Through the U.S. Department of Consumer Product Safety Commission, Japan and Mexico have had very few toy recalls compared to China, but the point is the countries still have recalls. On the next graph, this shows and compares toy imports to apparent consumption and toy imports specifically from China. The total of all toy imports is in the middle and has steadily increased over these years. China toy imports are a few million below, but they still are the largest portion. The U.S. apparent consumption, in case you didn't know which, is the production plus imports minus exports. is relatively close to the total imports, and this explains the little amount of toys the U.S. exports to other countries. On the next slide, this graph shows the growth of recalls, of total recalls, and compares it to China's total recalls. In the year 2007, China makes up of almost all of the recalls of the toy industry. Although this proves that China is responsible for many recalls, all countries, including the U.S., need to be held accountable for consumer safety. Children's safety is a global concern, and safety measures and regulations need to be kept in place. Lena will continue on with those preventative measures.
So the United States focuses on prevention. The American Association of Pediatrics and the Center for Environmental Health are examples of organizations in the United States that advocate safety standards, and they also research safety issues. In other words, these organizations try their best to ensure the safety of our children in the United States. Strategies to stop harmful imports. The United States has created acts, laws, and regulations to prevent potentially harmful items from crossing our ports. The Consumer Product Safety Commission was created by Congress in 1972 under the Consumer Protection Safety Act. The CPSC, which is the Consumer Product Safety Commission, works together with customs and also the border protection agents to ensure that potentially harmful items do not cross our borders. The CPSC in 2011, a very interesting fact, stopped 4.5 million potentially harmful items from crossing our borders.
Wait, how many?
4.5 million items.
That's incredible, people. That's incredible.
Yeah. The CPSC also announces what products are being recalled. New tough laws now require products to be tested and certified by independent laboratories, which is very interesting. The TIA, which is the Toy Industry Association, was created in 1916, and it was created to ensure toy safety. The United States communicates with its international counterparts to discuss standards and also to share new developments. Consumer protection. Parents, it is very important that you stay on top of what toys are being recalled. You can do this by watching the news, listening to the radio, researching online, but the most important one is signing up onto the Consumer Product Safety Commission's automated notification system, because a very small number of recalls make it to the news. So now I am going to conclude our presentation by just highlighting some of the things that we just discussed. In 2011, most of the toys that were recalled in the United States came from China. This motivated China to change some materials and designs to adhere to the United States standards. The United States has different acts, laws, and regulations in place to protect children. In general, we import a lot of items from China at very low cost. It is very important that we protect and leverage our relationship with China, as rightly discussed. And lastly, parents, it is very important that you stay on top of what toys are being recalled. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.